He did. I won't force you to do the Chelsea 11, but how was that for? Well, in the episodes of Hamzah. So with Chelsea, it was they did have some absences, particularly at centre back. But they ended up with Sanchez in goal. First choice fullbacks Cucurella and Reece James. The centre backs were Josh Achimapong and Ben Badiashile. I think they had four senior centre backs missing, did they? Or three or four, three.
Oh, Colwell's the big one, isn't it?
Yeah, Fofana, Colwell, and somebody else too.
Yeah, they're most of them.
Yeah. And then midfield, they had pretty much the first choice midfield. Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez. Lavia was on the bench. He hasn't, yet again, he's not fit. I don't think he's played, I don't think he's played at all this season. Neto and Garnacho. Are they the first choice wide players? I know Neto certainly is. Garnacho.
Yeah, now, since he signed, they brought Gittins in to be the first choice left winger, and then they brought Garnacho in typical Chelsea style and bombed out the other kid they brought in. So a bit like they brought Delap, play fun, but they're now playing Pedro. So
I always thought Pedro was first choice anyway. To be honest, Pedro.
It's just what they do, isn't it? It's just what Chelsea.
Yeah, and then the wild card, I guess, was Malo Gusto in a midfield role, because everybody thought, okay, it was going to be Reece James in midfield, isn't it, alongside Caicedo. So I mean, this was we said to it before we even got to this game, Barts, that these were two very tricky games in London, Chelsea and Palace on consecutive weekends. Was this stats pack for this match as bad as the Palace game?
No, this is. I said to you boys, right? There's actually a lot of good numbers in here, and I know that sounds bonkers. Right, and people are going to shoot me.
No. Is it because we actually played quite well? I thought we played quite well in this match.
I watched it again today because I was half and half. There were periods where we played all right. I thought we looked okay. So if you look at the top line stats, right, we're away from home against Chelsea, who have moved to, I would say, a fairly possession-orientated side under the new boss. It's sort of nearly 50-50 possession. Build till we're away from home. They've nudged 57 versus 40, 43. Okay, fair enough. Total shots is the same. Okay. Shots in the box, penalty box shots is we outshoot them 8-6, which is something to be doing away from home. We got 4 big chances to there too, officially. I know we always debate whether or not they are or not, but officially we have more big chances than they did. In terms of non-penalty XG, 1.95 away from home versus their 1. And also, there's some pleasing threat here, right? So this, again, people might get bored of me saying this, but we converted our threat to XG at over 100% first time this season, and we kept theirs below 50%, which, again, to have those two ratios working is the first time this season. So I think there is some stuff in there to go, all right, there's still some areas to improve upon. And if you break it down by halves, I think the second half we're markedly better than the first. We convert at over 150% threat to XG, whereas first half was around 60. But then we keep their threat to XG below 15% in the first half, whereas there it goes up to 55 in the second half. So that's largely because of the last minute chance that they had. Field tilt is more even in the first half, 46 versus 54, whereas second half it goes 60-40 in their favour. And if you take that to look at the graphs representing that, that's probably a territory area we didn't do so great as we did against Palace. So Palace, we have possession, we converted to field tilt, which didn't do anything with it. Here, the reverse is true for us. Apart from the first sort of 15-minute period where we did convert possession into field tilt, we didn't really do that for the rest of the game. But what we did do with it is we created XG and threat even though not having great territory. So, whereas Chelsea had a bit like we had at Palace, they had possession converted to field tilt, but didn't generate XG out of that. And this is where I was a little bit shocked when I ran it, because the Monte Carlo's come out at 60%, 62% win rate for Liverpool versus, let's be kind to Chelsea, 15% win rate for Chelsea, with the most probable score in 10,000 sims, 2-1 to Liverpool. So
So I was going to
Yeah.
ask you then, as an analyst, who you look at the numbers and you think, hang on, this is actually quite good, because I thought the performance was good at first watch. What was it, do you think, about the game that had so many of our fans losing their mind over this and being a terrible performance?
I think there's something in here we talk about a lot, right? And I think there's that feeling, certainly a period in the second half where it became end to end, right? It was around I would say 70-minute mark, particularly when we still had a lot of changes being made.
Yeah, but I think the narrative had set in the first half, hadn't it? When we were 1-0 down. But if you looked at the threat and the expected goals, what Chelsea actually did with their supposed superiority,
we were down. So it wasn't. We wandered down to a 3% chance.
Yeah,
right. So
seven of their 12 shots came after the 75th minute, and 0.8 of their expected goals total, their one total came after the 75th minute as well. So
I think it's that. I think it's always exaggerated when you're on the back of a defeat. But this is the third defeat in a row. You've gone down again. I think we've missed opportunities. I think Dom has a very good chance in the first half.
Yeah, the cutback.
The cutback, and that
Cody.
That would have been 1-0 or something. So I think there's instances in games where people latch onto and they then build from there to say that, well, Chelsea deserved the second half, and often people do listen to the commentators, right? So the commentators won't necessarily. This is what I'm saying. So the commentators will paint you a picture that is great. It's entertainment for them.
Yeah,
the numbers often tell you a different thing. And I think in the second half as well, for that the first part of the second half, we created a lot of good opportunities. We potentially should have been 2-1 up. I thought there was some 3 or 4 good chances in there, but then they reacted with the subs, as you've pointed out in the group, and they brought Lavia on with a double defensive pivot rather than not, and that was a reaction to us bringing on our 7. So there you go.
Anyway. Thank you, Dr. Barts. We do have the boy wonder has just arrived, Hamzah. Nice, welcome back. You've been badly missed.
Hi everyone, sorry I'm late.
You're welcome. You missed the last 2 pods as well, so we do want to get your takes on lots of things Liverpool. But more importantly, do you want to give us your insight into the Chelsea Liverpool first half and maybe what was causing some of our fans to lose their mind about why it was such a terrible performance?
I mean, the first half I think was it was pretty low event either way. The game stinks; it takes it. You have the early goal from Caicedo. I think you guys have probably already run through this, but as in that determined.
No, we haven't. No, we haven't actually done the mechanics stats, just the stats.
Oh, okay. In some ways, the low event qualities of the match aren't just a consequence of Chelsea taking the lead. They also wanted that, because why would you have a high event match when you're leading, right? So they take the lead and they also do manage it as well. So it's not just that Liverpool were struggling to create, it's also that Chelsea were quite effective in limiting our chance creation. They pressed quite well. Liverpool then build up again, weren't looking as fluid as you would like. I think we might discuss the fullbacks. I think what's a little bit frustrating when watching is when the team works opportunities. So we'll move the ball from side to side, create a potential opening, and maybe one of the fullbacks, be it Bradley or Kirkes, doesn't quite see it, because you think, oh, you've worked that opportunity really well. Now's the moment to play it into Gravenberch, and then you can spring forward and attack. But what I think is really missing from Liverpool so far this season is those sustained attacks, where Liverpool build slowly, they move into the final third, and they sustain maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes of pressure while we're working it. And then that's probably where you'll get to see the best of someone like Florian Wirtz, for example. But we're playing quite deep, then transitioning forward, and we weren't quite as clean as we would have liked in the attacking third. But that's been a theme so far this season. And I think that's also just players making bad decisions in a way that isn't systemic, I think. I think that's just those hot and cold runs that teams and players have. We saw it last season with Liverpool, where they started really hot and then also cooled down a bit, and then vice versa. But I think, in the first half, I think the early goal played a key role in settling the game the way that it went. And I think the frustration, comes in the second half. And I spoke to my colleague Paul today, and he mentioned, he said, when you've lost 2 matches in a week and you're away at Stamford Bridge, why choose to make it a basketball match in the final 15 minutes? And while I don't agree entirely with that, I completely see that criticism there. As a fan, you're entirely right to say, why would you do that? Why would you allow a game in which Chelsea have a reserve guys on at centre-back, haven't got their first choice striker up top, have changed to sort of pacey wingers, and Esteban particularly is really good. Why would you let that match become a basketball game? Why would you not try and control it? And in this case, just take the point. For me personally, a point or 0 point, 1 point or 0 points doesn't really matter too much when you're chasing the league. I think you probably should always be pushing for 3. And I think actually that context of them not having their first choice centre-backs means that we probably should have just done what we did, but better. But I think I'm actually in a minority there. And I think most people would say, as Paul said, you've lost 2 matches in a week. You're away at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge.
I'm with you.
On the season.
I'm with you, Hamzah. I mean, I think Klopp was one of the most attacking managers of all time. Slot is very, very attacking as well. I don't think there was a single point last season where I can recall him trying to shut up shop for a draw. I think we saw him try and do it maybe when we were 2-0 up or were leading to try and close the game down, but I don't think we ever saw it when we were level. And I think the number of times he's taken off defenders and put midfielders into the back line, I think this is the 10th time that move has happened now, with Ryan Gravenberch into the back line since the start of last season for some or all of a match. I think that's a manager who does take risks to try and get the results, and I think he does value the 3 points over the 1. But anyway...
Perhaps there's one other thing to say as well. He did bring Endo on, and I think he did explain post-match that was to try and control the game a bit more.
I've got some very specific questions for you all, but let's do the first half first. Okay, I got some really specific ones about this. But Si, your take on that first half, and and how it settled down, and our general performance after. Basically, we said last week that the Palace game was genuinely bad. Like, we were talking like Napoli away levels, 22-23, weren't we? About how bad it was statistically, and with the eye test. This wasn't that game.
It wasn't that game. It was better than that game, but I'm on the opposite end of the continuum of you three. I think we took what Chelsea offered us. I think Barts was talking about field tilt and how possession manifested. We played where Chelsea wanted us to, apart from 3 occasions which we got through, and we are badly rehearsed at getting into the hot zone, so we didn't make any good choices. Okay. But we're not doing it. Our high quality chance creation is literally half of last season at this point. We could argue the big chance nonsense because it's nonsense. We made 3 in this game, but a couple of very nice chances. The most high profile, it wasn't even a big chance, but we made Zobbo. It was one of the better moves we've put together this season that ends up getting Zobbo in that position right in front of the goal. And to be fair to him, there was one tiny window to hit in the bottom right, and he just didn't quite get it into the right spot. And it was really, really hard. There are big chances and there are big chances. They're not all the same. And sometimes you got to tap in, and that wasn't a tap in. That would have been this. It was still hard work to score from that. So I'll give you that we did that very well. But tactically, the thing that got to me and is concerning me this season is we watched last season how Slot took a team that already existed in a way of playing that was already existed, and he used it with a couple of very smart tweaks on that to constantly cause different stressors to the opponent to make the opponent react tactically and systemically to what we were trying to do. And I just don't see that this season at all. I see us constantly trying to do a thing we did last season and executing it badly alongside significant moments in nearly every game where we're trying to cope with what the opposition are doing to us. And in this, if you can game plan for a 20-yarder right in front of the middle of the goal, which seems absurd. You're trying to create the goal that they scored, but they were trying to create that opportunity. Maybe what they were trying to do by their rotation in midfield against ours, because I find it's our biggest weakness tactically in midfield, the things we're trying to do with the midfield three. It's tasking lads to do stuff that isn't, one, that doesn't come naturally to them, but two, it's giving them extra things to think about and extra decisions to make, of which if you get 3 lads and they've got 9 decisions to make between them, that's 9 opportunities for one of them to fail. Last season, we'd reduced it, so there were fewer opportunities, fewer decisions to make. And Grav in particular had a lot fewer opportunities to make decisions, so that the outcome was more predictable. Doesn't matter right or wrong, it was just more predictable. So now we're making less predictable actions. From afar, it looked like they're more predictable because they're happening regularly, because there's one lad not filtering around when he's supposed to on time, because he just didn't see it out the corner of his eye. That tends to be what happens on a football pitch. That there was a lad in the way and didn't see Grav push that way for half a second, which makes him 2 meters behind the lad moving into that space. That's the kind of stuff that happens with this. And they got into Bart's zone 14. I imagine the tactical rehearsal was to get a nice slide rule pass into the guy breaking off the wing, whoever's on their right wing. Is it Neto? I don't know who it is. Or
yeah,
Gusto,
Neto.
Or Gusto running from midfield because he had committed Virgil at that point. I don't imagine that set play is set up for Caicedo to bang a thunder bastard that he did. Maybe he is that capable of doing that.
Well, he is. He's scored a few long ranges in the last year, that's for sure. The only thing I would say, Si, is that we said exactly the same thing in reverse on the Newcastle pod. You said, you got a game between two of the bigger teams in the Premier League, and you get an opening goal from one of your midfielders on a 2% chance. I mean, and we had it in that Newcastle game with Ryan Gravenberch, and they had it in this game with Moises Caicedo. When you get events like that at moments, they have their...
I know what you're saying. So in numbers on a spreadsheet, you're absolutely right. That's what it looks like. But yeah, they continue to make the same manoeuvres to create this opportunity. The one Grav scored wasn't an opportunity base.
Yeah. It was
tactical base. It just happened.
Yeah. So
things happen. But it wasn't the outcome that pissed me off. It's not it really pissed me off, but that it causes me stress that we're being caused stress on the pitch tactically by what Enzo Maresca is setting up, and we didn't counter it until half time.
So, let's talk about what Mark Cucurella said post-match, Si, because this really concerns me, right? I want to have I'm going to call it the Mo Salah conversation, okay? Right.
Different.
Right. Mark Cucurella, right, when you're at the stage where somebody from the opposition is telling everybody in the global media how they beat you, it's a bit like what Slot did at Man United last year to Eric Ten Hag when he said, "Oh yeah, we just changed everything. This is how we did it. This is how we won 3-0." But Cucurella says basically, yeah, we know that Mo Salah doesn't do any doesn't track back defensively, so we just plan to attack behind him and play down his side.
Let me quickly argue this, because I'm obviously Mo's biggest.
You are the president of the Mo Salah fan club, so yes.
Right. So I would my first argument, my rebuttal to this garbage is why did you attack more down the right hand side than down the left in this game?
Yeah.
It doesn't need any more than that. It was nonsense, utter bullshit. It doesn't fit within the happenings of this game or this season. We haven't been attacked more down our right hand side this season than previously. We aren't attacked more down our right hand side than our left hand side. It just doesn't happen. It's just not true. The things that are happening this season is right through the middle is where we're basically Virgil bending over and going, here's a shot. Here's a shot for you, which is a grotesque meme that makes me very, very sad about a wonderful player. But that's what's happening. It's not that people aren't running off the back of Mo to get in. Cucurella wasn't running off the back of Mo. He was busy mullering in on the halfway line and kicking him up in the air. The moment they scored at the end of the game, fair play, good goal. But Mo had tracked him all the way back to the edge of the area. Is he supposed to be the one? Is he supposed to have carried on into the box past 6 of our defenders to block a cross that was rolling straight to Robbo if he'd have moved? Or he was probably injured, whatever. But that's where the error occurred. It wasn't Mohamed Salah. You can criticise Mo for missing 2 shots that he very often in the past, low probability shots, that he very often in the past has spanked into the top corner. You can't criticise him for the nonsense that Cucurella, who is an absolute thug bastard, is really smart of creating this narrative.
Yeah.
You would love him if he was ours, but that's all he was doing. It wasn't true.
Okay.